Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's wrestling time. That's right, the Getting Over podcast is back for what some would say is the biggest event of the wrestling calendar. That's right, Wrestlemania. Wrestlemania is so big, it needs to be split into 2 days, 2 nights, and in true Getting Over fashion, we like to mimic what the wrestling's doing. So we have done 2 podcasts. So don't forget to check out both episodes to check out all of the predictions. You can also submit your own predictions and enter our competitions to win goodies, prizes, Funko Pops. Before we get into part 1 of 2, please consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop reviews where you can drop reviews, and just generally share the podcast around. It means a lot to us for all of our fans that share our podcast with other fans. So big thank you from us for that. Right, let's get going because there's a lot to get through. So here we go. This is Getting Over part 1. Yeah, part 1. Here we go.
Recording in progress.
Hello. If I'm starting off, that can only mean one thing. It is the return of Getting Over to the CookieCast Network, your home of all things wrestling and WWE. As usual, I'm not here on my own, although we are a man down this time around. And what a time. What a time for him to go on his holidays. If only it really was a holiday, Matt, when you listen to this back. Matt's not here. But the good news is I am joined, as always, by the host of the NFL and Darkest Timeline podcast, the head honcho of CookieCast himself, Mr. Andrew Cook.
Good evening.
Rocking the merch. And the other guy who's on everything as well, Paul Williams.
Oh, that'd be me then.
You both alright, fellas?
Can't complain.
Very good, thank you.
Good. Now, there's been a bit of time, some would say, longer than we anticipated between last podcast and this podcast. But that's partly to do with schedules and partly to do with other things that shall not be discussed right now. However, we do have some predictions title to talk. And going into Elimination Chamber last time around, I was defending champion. But would I hang on? That was the question. So we had a total of 5 points for the matches this time around. And out of a possible 5 points in a very close contest, in joint 3rd place, we have Matt and Paul on 3 points, so 3 out of 5. Now, in joint 1st place, we have Andy and myself. So yeah, we've got 2 pairs this time around, but I did have to break the bad news to Paul a little ahead of time that he didn't win this time around. So I did charge him with the task of finding a tiebreak question for myself and Mr. Cook. So, Paul, over to you.
Just before I give you the tiebreak question, what was the particular result that shafted me, as it were?
Well, I mean, you did pick Sami Zayn to win by disqualification in the main event, which was a little silly. And the other one that you picked was Lesnar by DQ. So that was your two that you got wrong.
Well, I mean, I was half right with one of them. I just picked the wrong person to win by disqualification.
I have to say as well that in the predictions last time around, I did pick Lashley to win by disqualification, but I did just give myself 1 point. I didn't shaft Andy a chance of taking the title this time. I did play fair. So effectively, Andy and yourself both predicted Edge and Beth correctly. Everybody got Asuka winning the Elimination Chamber. I got Lashley, was the only one to pick Lashley. Everybody picked Theory. and everybody apart from you, Paul, picked Reigns. Those were the full breakdown. There wasn't that many matches last time, so it didn't take too long to go through. So yeah, tie break time.
Okay, so I've tried to keep it on, well, not on brand, because obviously it is WWE, but on time of year, shall we say. So obviously this will be our WrestleMania preview podcast. So, do you have a means of writing down a number, fellas?
I thought you'd have my phone number by now, Paul, but yeah.
Andy's got his phone, so you're good to go. I'll wait for Mr. Woodmansey to give me the old Iggy that he's ready. Yep, he's ready. So, what was the official WWE declared attendance for both nights of last year's WrestleMania? So obviously it was a 2-night show, as it will be again this year. There were periods of each show where they declared the WWE specified attendance for that night. So I'm looking for both nights added together. So I do have the exact number here. If you need a clue, when it was hosted in Dallas 4 years previous, the official attendance was over 100,000. This year, it did not get to 100,000 on either night. So it was less than 100,000 each night. Will be the sort of ballpark that I'd take to hear.
And you want the total of the 2 nights?
Yeah, so if you work out like what you think it would have been for one night and either double it, or basically think of what you'd think would be the average times it by 2, or whatever you want to, whichever way around you want to do it, basically.
I mean, I could have written this a little bit bigger so you'll pick it up on camera, so I'm just going to rewrite it. I mean, what you're essentially listening to right now, ladies and gentlemen, is the sound of a man writing an incorrect answer.
If either one of them get it spot on, I think they automatically just win the next month's predictions. Do you both have an answer?
I do.
Andy is nodding away.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Listening to the podcast.
For audio listeners, yes, I have. I have two numbers to show my workings out.
Excellent. Do you want to show them to the screen and read them out for the listening public?
I have gone.
Andy, we'll go for yours first.
Me?
Yes, please.
I've gone with 96,363. I've times that by 2 to produce 192,726.
I like it.
Stu, what have you got?
Yeah, I haven't gone quite that high. I don't know why. I had a feeling it wasn't as much as last time, and because they'd spread it over 2 nights, they weren't probably as asked about fitting every man, dog, cat, brothers, sisters, aunt in with a shoehorn. So I have gone for 173,426.
Okay. So, night 1 had an officially declared WWE number of attendance as 77,899 people. Andy's shaking his head because I think he knows what's coming. Night 2 had an officially declared attendance of 78,453, giving a total across the 2 nights of 156,352. Congratulations, Mr. Woodmansey. You take the point and therefore the win. Obviously, the attendance figures used to be given as officially declared. Then now, if you look anywhere, they're always given as disputed figures because apparently there's something doing the rounds that apparently when they're asked for figures, WWE declare not just the paid attendance, they include everyone that's in the building. So they include vendors, wrestlers,
staff, parking attendants.
They're not in the building, though, necessarily.
Well, yeah, but if they stand at the door, they could be classed as being in the building. So basically, I think it's anyone who's on site for the event gets included into the total, which is why, obviously, when they had the previous WrestleMania there for 32, they were saying that they had over 100,000 people. That's been disputed as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, when they ran the Pontiac Silverdome, or the Superdome, if you ask Hulk Hogan, back at WrestleMania 3, I think it was 93,000 or something like that, and that's again been disputed because again there's been the argument that they've included anyone that was in the building, including the wrestlers. So,
I knew that the original AT&T WrestleMania was I'm sure it was 101,700 or something. It was big. But that was back in the good old days where you only had to worry about one night of your entire weekend being devoted to watching the wrestling. Whereas now it's become this phenomena of, and I guess that's really what we've got COVID to thank for, because this is where the 2-night mania all started. Well, yeah.
I see, mate. I suppose it's always kind of been a 2-night show. Because I'd always include the Hall of Fame as basically like one of the nights. Obviously, we've discussed it before, but me and Stu went to WrestleMania 30, and as part of the package, we went to not only the Hall of Fame, but then we went to the Raw on the Monday after as well. So, I mean, you could argue that it's basically, 4 days? Because you've now got the SmackDown on the Friday, the NXT show on the Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that now, because that is a very good segue, because obviously Paul mentioned we are here to talk about WrestleMania, and we will go through our WrestleMania predictions. And because WrestleMania is the show that's too big for one night, it's also too big for one podcast. So we've got our predictions split up into 2 very special episodes for you. Normally, regular listeners will know that we would probably go into the news section at this point. Well, WrestleMania is so big, we didn't want to kind of waste time with any kind of trivial bits and bobs this time. It's Christmas Eve for wrestling fans, isn't it? So we thought we'd get into a little bit about NXT, a little bit about the Hall of Fame, and then we'll go for gold with our Night 1 predictions. So we'll start exactly with what Paul just mentioned, the NXT show. They are presenting Stand and Deliver on April 1st. WWE ambitiously putting on 2 shows on the same day. NXT special will air, I believe, local time. It's 1 in the afternoon is when it starts, so that the people who are lucky enough to be there will get to go to Stand and Deliver, grab some tea, and then go straight into the SoFi Stadium to take in WrestleMania Night 1. That is going to be a long day. It's going to be a long weekend if you're taking in every single show. It's just an insane amount of wrestling. But not only that, but there'll be shows around the area. So if people aren't going to Stand and Deliver, there's WrestleCon to go to. No doubt some of the other promotions over there will be putting on shows local to SoFi as well, so people have a bit of a choice. But yeah, we're going to focus on NXT Stand and Deliver just for the first part. Standout matches from Stand and Deliver coming up include Johnny Gargano going back to the yellow and black to take on Grayson Waller. A triple threat for the NXT Tag Team titles sees the UK's own Gallus Boys defending against the Creed Brothers and Tony D'Angelo and Stax. A 5-way is set to determine the North American title, as Wesley takes on newcomer Dragon Lee, amongst others. The women's champion will also be decided in a 5-way match, but the difference is this one's going to have a ladder. So we've had this whole thing with Roxanne Perez where she was so exhausted after the match with Meiko Satomura that she just passed out and was poorly and didn't know if she was going to be able to carry on defending her title. Well, she's back now, but in the meantime, whilst she was away, they'd already started the process of qualifying for this ladder match to determine a new champion, and now she's better again. She's been added to the lineup, so that could be pretty tasty, that, to be honest. Although I do have a personal favourite in that match because I'd really like Zoe Stark to get a good run because I think she is an incredible wrestler. The main event of NXT Stand and Deliver this time around is Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes. It's not easy with a whole accent, ladies and gentlemen. Competing for the men's NXT title. Now, I may be a little bit on my own because I'm guessing that NXT for many may have slipped by the wayside since the change, particularly to 2.0, then evolving into what it is today. But honestly, there is a lot that I enjoy on NXT more, again, right now than some of the stuff on the main roster. They've got stories that weave through the entire card. It's not just one massive storyline and loads of random shit happening underneath. Are some of the stories in NXT a little bit daft? Yes. But it's still entertaining, and that's kind of what it's about. So I'm personally looking forward to the 3 singles title matches the most off the card. But as an added bonus with that time difference, it'll start around 6 in the evening for us. So it means that we'll be able to watch some wrestling on WrestleMania weekend without having to stay up to the crack of dawn. Will any of you guys be partaking in Stand and Deliver, or will you leave it?
I mean, I can't even remember the last time I saw any NXT stuff, and I've not really seen much of the takeover since the switch to 2.0. So
2.0's sort of died a bit of a death though now. They've moved away from that branding. Although yes, the titles still do have the Crayola backgrounds. It's not. It's moved back more. It's definitely closer to the black and gold. It's definitely not that level, but it's not quite the sort of, I don't know, preschool version as it maybe once was. And they've got some good people coming through there. Carmelo Hayes for sure is definitely one to watch at the moment. But there's rumours as well that we're going to get 2 post WrestleMania debuts. One of which is apparently Bron Breakker, so that may kind of sway people towards thinking what's going to happen there. But the other one, finally, it looks like we're going to get the debut of Cameron Grimes on the main roster, which he has been missing in action for some time. So I'm very much looking forward to see what happens there. I'm also not quite as worried as I maybe used to be about NXT guys coming to the main roster because we haven't got the instant fear of Vince McMahon sticking them in dominatrix clothing and making them lose to everybody. So there's also that. But yeah, so as we mentioned as well, Hall of Fame is going on. This time around, that's going to be on the Friday night, so that's going to be on Friday the 31st of March. And with less than a week to go, only 5 inductees have actually been announced, which is kind of weird to me.
I think that's going to be it as well. I don't think they're going to announce anybody else, unless it comes to start SmackDown, which would be a very odd time to sort of announce it.
It's bizarre, but I can't decide if it's on purpose to reduce the run times, or because just plans have completely fallen through, and actually, for want of a better expression, WWE have really shit the bed this year with Hall of Fame. I mean, that's quite up to you to decide. If you want to Google Dave Bautista's current plans, maybe that'll give you an indication of which way I believe it may have gone. So Dave, you're a big movie star now, right? Yeah, cool. Right, we're doing WrestleMania in Hollywood, and you were definitely supposed to get inducted a couple of years ago. Can you do it? I'm in South Africa, mate, filming a film. Yeah, don't get that. Anyway, the 4 main inductees, if that's a thing, that have been announced are Andy Kaufman for the Celebrity Wing, the Great Muta for the Never Wrestled in WWE Wing, long-time WCW talent acquired by WWE as part of the takeover, Stacy Keibler, and current but very long-tenured WWE performer Rey Mysterio. The 5th announcement was made, not to date the podcast too much, a matter of, I guess, minutes ago, really, still, because it was within the last couple of hours. And that is going to be the Warrior Award is given to former referee Tim White, although unfortunately he's no longer with us. So he had a very long and storied career himself. Big friends with Andre the Giant. So I'm assuming that it'll be a family member potentially that does that speech. So that could be an interesting one. For me, other than I still keep the Warrior Award to one side. I find it really odd that there's only really, to me, one like true WWE like legend, if you like, for want of a better word. What are your thoughts on those people going in?
I think if you actually look at the time spent in the company, I think Keibler was actually in WWE for longer than she was in WCW for, to be fair. So I don't think I think Keibler was always going to go in. It sounds a bit sort of like horrible to say it, but they're kind of running out of women they can induct.
Absolutely not. I will shove this as far down your throat as you can if you're going to start with that. Jazz?
No. She wasn't there that long. She was maybe there for 18 months in like a decent capacity.
Yeah,
Victoria's one that should definitely be there.
But the impact that Jazz had on it. Anyway, yeah, Victoria.
Yeah.
Mickie James.
Mickie James is a strange one because she'll definitely go in, but it's just a case of they just waiting for her to officially retire.
Maybe, but they didn't wait for Mysterio. They've just cracked on it.
Something like Well, I'll wait till we get to that particular prediction for that particular match because I think something might happen with that.
Well, that's potentially a spoiler there, ladies and gentlemen, but an even bigger spoiler. That'll be on the next episode, so you've got even longer to wait. Well, you won't, because they'll both get released at the same time. But yeah, that will be on the second arm of the predictions. But yeah, weirdly, before we started recording tonight, just happened to have the network on, and they showed one of the WWE 24. In fact, it would be the first WWE 24, all about WrestleMania 13, as Paul mentioned before we were there. I would struggle to find probably a higher profile class than we got that year. Like the amount of talent that was in like Ultimate Warrior, to have Jake the Snake and Scott Hall in the same class was nuts. But it just feels like they're really kind of watering it down these days.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously. I know. I just said they're running out of women and stuff like that, but obviously, the more people you induct, the less people. It sounds stupid to say, but the less people there are to induct, or the less sort of high-profile people. I mean, at this point, the biggest names that you'd say that aren't in any capacity is The Rock. He'll be going in at some point. It's just a case of when. Arguably the biggest of them all, Vince, but he's always said, I'm pretty sure he's not going in until he's dead. Let's be honest.
And to be honest, if at all, the way things have panned out over the last 12 months.
I mean, you could make an argument that every single one of the McMahon family needs to go in of their own accord, to be honest with you. Triple H isn't in under his own name. He's only in as part of factions. Would you say that X-Pac's done enough to sort of, over the course of his career, to warrant a place in there on his own? I'd say so.
I think that's a difficult one, though, because he's got the DX induction and the NWO induction. Is it a case of, are you back again? You got a loyalty card, fella? Like, it's a bit of a strange one, that. I don't think he will go in on his own, because I wouldn't say it's the wrong decision, but I think if they were going to do it, they should have done him on his own first. Regal?
I think they're always keeping him in the back pocket in case they decide to do a Mania over here. Because he'd be the absolute it'll be the absolute standout for the headliner for the holiday for that particular year.
Yeah, I can't see them. I mean, I couldn't see them doing a Clash at the Castle or a Money in the Bank, but they did. But I can't see them doing a Mania over here.
If the money talks, and if they can do it in somewhere like Wembley, where they know they can put over 100,000 people in there, and they can do it for. They could even try and run it for 3 nights and it'd sell out. So they'd find a way.
I mean, I'd take another weekend in Cardiff because I enjoyed that trip. It was good. And it's got a roof on it. Just saying. But yeah, so that's kind of brought the NXT Stand and Deliver and the Hall of Fame stuff to an end, which can mean it's only time to start talking about some Night 1 predictions. Now, as I mentioned, it is Christmas Eve for WWE and wrestling fans around the world, as this coming weekend, WWE presents the annual spectacular Wrestlemania. The 39th edition is once again split over 2 nights, as we've discussed, on the 1st and 2nd of April, live from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, home of the Los Angeles Chargers and some other shit NFL team nobody's heard of. This year's spectacle is to be hosted by none other than former WWE WrestleMania main eventer and winner, not The Rock, the one that's better, with the same first name, technically, The Miz. So yeah, and the news was confirmed earlier that he's also going to be accompanied by his wife, so there is a little bonus there for everybody of that persuasion. As always, match card information that we're about to discuss is correct at time of recording, and it's taken from WWE.com, but in this case, the cards are subject to change. 13 matches have been slated for the 2 nights, but most have not been allocated to a particular night as of recording. So I've done our best to kind of split them down. We've got 7 matches for this episode, 6 matches for the next episode, and try to split it as evenly as I can. But the one that we do know, well, one of the 2 we do know, definitely, because it's been announced, confirmed to be opening match on Night 1, the current United States champion, Austin Theory, will defend his title against probably the most famous US champion in WWE history, John Cena. I'm actually quite looking forward to this one. I feel that both men have actually got something to prove, and that might seem ridiculous saying that for John Cena. But like, Theory's got to prove that he can hang on the big stage with effectively one of WWE's Mount Rushmore faces, and Cena's got to prove that he can still do it after an extended time away. I mean, his last match was New Year's Eve because he was just creeping in there for the one match that year to extend that streak. He won't have to worry about that. He can have New Year's Eve off this year because he's got a match in April. But yeah, Theory also as well has had quite a lot of comparisons to John Cena, like at the similar stage in his career, in terms of like look and attitude. But I guess we're about to find out if Theory can back it all up and show that he can really do it all day. So, gentlemen, we will get into the predictions. Even though Mr. Moore isn't with us today, he has submitted some predictions ahead of time, so they are already in the book, as are mine. I will tell you that both myself and Matt have predicted the same way for this first match, and we have taken Austin Theory to retain the US title. Thoughts? Paul's going down the same route.
Certainly am. It's another one. It's just one of these ones where it doesn't make any sense for what does Cena winning the US title do for the storyline other than just kill absolutely any momentum that Theory might have. He's clearly not going to be sticking around for a prolonged period of time. He might turn up for the next couple of weeks and stuff like that, but he's going to be off filming whatever it is that he needs to film next. So I would imagine this is just a sort of not a retirement match by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly a winding down of sorts. So yeah, I would like to think that even John doesn't politic his way into a win at this particular point. So Theory win for me.
Okay. I went around exactly that theory, so to speak. Andy?
When I looked at this match originally, I was like, oh, I'll go with John Cena. It's absolutely the right move. And I was like, no, it's not. It does nothing. It does absolutely nothing for anything. It's almost one of those, having the match is a little pointless when the outcome's basically set in stone. It does absolutely nothing to have John Cena win this match. So it's a clean sweep for the first match.
It is indeed. Theory across the board. So we will move to the second match I have on the list, and this one will not take long, I assure you. This is the Women's Showcase Fatal 4-Way Tag Match. It's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And this is the first of two completely random thrown together matches that are in no way made just to get bodies on a WrestleMania. Oh, no, wait a minute. No, they absolutely are. I'm pretty cross. I'm not cross that these guys get a payday. Don't get me wrong. I'm a bit cross that it's just chucked together in such a haphazard fashion. Out of those, only one are a tag team regularly. And even then, it's only when Rousey needs some backup. Liv Morgan and Raquel have tagged a little bit, but the other ones, it's like, well, oh, you're a woman, you got some gear, cool, right? You're in this tag team now, off you go. It's really weird, and my question, as I have it written down exactly, is who wins and why will it be Ronda and Shayna?
So, I have picked Ronda and Shayna.
Yep, shocker.
The only thing that I can think off the top of my head is, do they have someone else win by, like, a quick roll-up or a mistake that one of the other two makes, and Shayna turns on Ronda, and that's where you take that in that direction and stuff like that, because at the minute it just seems like Ronda's like she's just spinning her wheels and stuff like that, really. Doesn't seem like she's got a direction or anything, so...
No. I mean, it won't surprise you to know that I obviously agree with Paul, seeing as I'd put that down like that. Matt has also agreed and put Ronda and Shayna. So, Andy, are we on for a full clean sweep in two predictions?
I'm trying to avoid previous pitfalls, so unfortunately I cannot pick Ronda Rousey to win in any form in this match because I keep picking, and she is the female Drew McIntyre for me. So that led me down the path of who can I pick instead. So I have got Natalya and Shotzi. I will sit firmly on Points Island for this one.
I would like them to win because I think Shotzi hasn't really had a fair crack of the whip yet. Pairing her with Natalya is a bit of experience. I don't think is the worst move.
Bit of the old youth and experience combo.
Yeah.
Is the reason why Shotzi's not had much of a go because she's not very good?
Well, they keep pushing Lacey Evans down our throat occasionally, so, fair's fair, Paul, come on.
I'd say Lacey Evans is probably more accomplished in the ring. Shotzi does make an awful lot of mistakes.
I'm not even sure that you can justify that. I think they're of a very similar standard, and the one thing that you don't get with Shotzi is the weekly social media outrage where she's pissed off a different minority group this week. So, yeah. Funnily enough, Lacey Evans was in one of the other random teams that was thrown together that didn't qualify for the event, so every cloud. Anyway, speaking of matches that are just completely randomly thrown together, we will move on to match 3 on my list, which is Brock Lesnar versus Omos. This match could have been Lesnar versus Lashley again, or it could have been Lashley or Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt. Still really not sure what's going on there with him. But instead, we've got this. I have to be honest, Omos still not really working for me. It's way too soon to get a match against Lesnar. He feels really green still. I've seen reports that have said that Lesnar has picked this match himself. Can only assume that he also was smoking the green at that time. This is just bizarre. Also as well, apparently Lesnar has potential retirement plans. It can't be this match, surely. if Omos is the guy to beat Lesnar at WrestleMania, given Lesnar's own history at WrestleMania, I will really not be happy. It won't help Omos get over with me at all, or likely any other fans. It just damages the reputation of Lesnar and those that he's conquered before. And you all know what I'm getting at there. Can the man that ended the Undertaker's undefeated streak lose to just a tall unit just because he's tall and a unit? It doesn't wash with me. I can genuinely see this being a repeat or very damn close to Lesnar versus Goldberg from WrestleMania 20, in the sense of the match is a complete write-off because the crowd just crap all over it and it turns into a car wreck. Not even sure we'll get a winner necessarily, but do you guys agree with my damning assessment?
So everything I've seen from like the stuff I've been reading agrees with what you've said. Apparently, Brock picked this match specifically. Apparently, what I read, he actually turned down the Bray Wyatt match, but like you said, not sure what the deal there is. And I have seen a lot of this rumour that he is looking to retire, but not from this match. Which is why, if you're looking for a prediction, I would hope mine would already be in the book.
Yeah, no fear there.
You got me.
So that's 2 for Lesnar, because I am on the same trail there, purely because, yeah, the reasons mentioned before. Please, if anybody out there is listening to this that makes any kind of decision, please don't give us Omos beating him. As I feel sorry for MVP that he's been lumbered with trying to get this guy over, because it's like, I'm interested in seeing MVP on weekly TV. I like MVP. He's very good at what he does. He can wrestle. Obviously doesn't do it so much these days, but he can definitely get any situation, he can get himself over with the crowd. I mean, the dead horse is currently carrying around. Not so much, but yeah, I'd rather see MVP on his own. Paul?
I mean, we've been discussing this one for the last 5 or 6 weeks, ever since it came out, and none of us could work out what the hell was going on with it and stuff like that. As at time of recording, as far as I'm aware, Lashley still does not have any involvement in any sort of match. So,
not on the main card, because Lashley was supposed to be fighting Wyatt. Obviously, that's kind of gone astray because Wyatt's doing what, if he's put up. Some things say he's injured, some things say he's poorly. Regardless, whatever he's up to, obviously wish him the best. Lashley has been bumped from the WrestleMania main card to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown. That is a kick in the nuts after the work that guy has put in over the last two years or so.
So, I mean, I've got Brock to win, no surprise, but I don't, like you said, I don't know if it's a case of this one will be shady sort of happening, run-ins, disqualification, something like that. I don't know, but I still think there's Lashley / Hurt Business / somebody getting involved in some sort of way that means that technically it's a win for Brock, but it's not because it's not the match that's advertised or something like that. Either way, Brock will come out of it looking strong. Let's put it that way.
Okay, like I say, I've agreed with you, gentlemen. Matthew, however, has not. Maybe this is why he's not here, because he didn't want to admit to predicting Omos live on air. Who knows? But yeah, he has gone for Omos, so he will be on Points Island should that occur. Moving on, I have the 6-woman tag match between the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Becky Lynch and Lita, accompanied by Trish Stratus, versus Damage Control, so Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. From a match that I feel will be sneaky bad, as we discussed in the last one, I think this one might be sneaky good. certainly the match for the nostalgia feels with the Trish and Lita combination being back in action, but also probably the most stacked in terms of talent in one match, certainly from the women's perspective. And yes, I am still talking about that showcase match we mentioned earlier. Lita winning the tag team titles kind of feels right, even if it is about 10 years too late. And even if the partner was a bit of a surprise in it being Becky Lynch. Rumours also flying around at the moment that Trish may be back for a little while, potentially until SummerSlam, to take part in a feud. And you would kind of then think that this match would be the catalyst to propel that forward, if indeed those rumours are true. I think this has definitely got the potential to be a high-tempo affair, particularly with the likes of Io and Lita being in that mix from a high flyers perspective. But yeah, who takes this one in so far this weekend? Andy?
I feel as far as wrestling podcasts go, if the phrase "there's absolutely no way that Bayley's not winning this one" doesn't come up, it's probably something's gone seriously wrong somewhere. So the opportunity to say it would be, I'll have damage control for the win here, because absolutely no way that Bayley's losing this one.
Excellent. Paul?
I am 100% in agreement with Mr. Cook. I have also gone for damage control to win this one. Saw some stuff on the, IWC, as I believe it's known by all the cool kids. There was talk of this setting up a potential Trish heel turn to cost Lita and Becky the match, and then you've got the potential there. You can go with the Lita Trish feud again, or you start the Becky Trish feud. So you've got the mix of the generations crossing there. I'd be all for that. I haven't seen heel Trish for a while, so that'd be quite nice. She always used to play quite a good bad guy, so I would be certainly on board.
I am in full agreement. I think that the way that this will play out will be that Trish will ultimately cost the win. I'm not necessarily saying that she'll join Damage Control. I mean, I wouldn't be against that. That would be quite cool as well. But I have a feeling that it's going to go the way of she will be the heel from now until, like I say, until SummerSlam. She'll also end up costing Trish and Lita the tag team titles at some point. But also, ultimately, Trish and Lita are collectively known as Team Bestie for a reason. So at some point, is Lita also going to join the dark side maybe and leave Becky out on her own? Because we've never really had bad guy Lita, certainly since the days of when she was with Edge for a little while. But yeah, I think that could be an interesting angle. But us three live on the podcast have picked Damage Control. Matthew again has gone the opposite way and has picked Becky, Lita and Trish to win that match. So once again, could be a smart move. We'll see. We'll see at the weekend. Right, this is the point where I'm feeling like I should probably hand over to Andy for clearly his most anticipated match of the entire weekend. You've told me before how much you enjoy seeing Paul on the week. You meant this Paul, not Logan Paul, didn't you? Oh, damn. Got this wrong again. Now I just feel silly. I think, though, Andy would be very excited to see Logan Paul this weekend take multiple stomps from Seth Rollins, was where I was going. It's been a bit of a tough build, this one, for me. As you'd expect, Rollins has done most of the heavy lifting, probably due to Logan Paul's light WWE schedule. We had to wait until the final couple of weeks to see the build in person, really, from Logan. But he did manage to twice lay out Seth Rollins with his surgically reinforced fist. In fairness, though, to Logan Paul, he has had some impressive spots in his relatively short WWE tenure so far. And he does have a little way to go to prove that he can keep it up at that level on the regular. And he has really only worked with top-level established talent up to now. I mean, it's okay doing it on the world stage if you're going against stars like Roman Reigns, The Miz and Seth Rollins. But I think the real question that we need to ask is, could he really do it on a cold, rainy Tuesday in Stoke? It remains to be seen. So I think because it's almost, I feel like we're going to channel some football podcast here, and I think purely because it feels like Andy's home game, we should leave Andy's until last. So I'll jump in with Matt, and just to stoke that fire that little bit more, Matt has picked Logan Paul to win. You see, it's another controversial pick, and he's not here, so...
It's an interesting pick. Just to go back to the can he do it on a wet Tuesday night in Stoke, obviously the regularly scheduled post-WrestleMania European tour did add Stoke as a stopping point for this year's tour. So we'll get to find out, I dare say. Logan Paul is the headliner at the Bet365 Stadium that particular evening. Yeah, I'll jump in here. I've gone for Seth Rollins on this one. I think if there's a guy who I don't want to say the phrase "lost in the shuffle," but honestly, the takeaway is sort of his interactions with Cody, obviously, which happened exactly a year ago, pretty much to the day, and the sort of the subsequent 2 matches they had after that. Take that out. What has he done that's been relevant to the story since he was the Universal Champion?
Rollins has become the gatekeeper. He's the one that they give when somebody's either trying to get in or trying to get over. Because obviously they gave him Riddle last summer after the whole Cody thing finished. And yes, Riddle might not be there. That's not Rollins' fault. Rollins didn't make him smoke all the weed. But
I just don't get it. Like, I mean, I know that he's had his stuff with Reigns in the past. They went through that. They've come out the other side. That's fine. To me, it just feels like he should be in like the prime years of his career, and they're just wasting him.
I think it might not just this might be a case of it not just being creative. Obviously, yes, it's not been stellar, but just pull his personal life into it for a second. His little one is going to be at that stage where she's walking, talking, everything's kind of formative. It's time that he's not going to get back. So if he's the top of the card every night, everywhere, he isn't going to get that time with her. So I think it's not been, the creative's not been amazing, but I also think that's potentially by design, because he still has had high profile matches when he's needed. But also, like I say, he's that guy that they go to get other people over.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I can see in that theory as to why Matt has picked Logan Paul to win. The other wrinkle to this story is that Logan Paul's contract is allegedly up at WrestleMania, so there's not... Obviously, they won't release any information as if he's re-signed or anything like that till afterwards, because that will potentially squish any kind of prediction there as well. But just to sneak my prediction in before we get to Andy, I can see he's chomping at the bit. I daren't do this to the man, so I am also picking Seth Rollins. So you're 2-1 up at the moment, Andy, with the chance to deliver that killer blow.
Seth freaking Rollins for me, please.
It was already in the book. That one was in the book before the Lesnar pick was in the book. So yeah, I thought that would be coming. So there it is. Okay, so again, for the third match in a row now, Matt going against the grain.
Is this just going to be another one of those where Matt just walks the entire thing just by picking different to everybody else?
I've seen the rest of his picks. It better not be. I don't like the way that he's picked some of the other stuff, but you'll have to hang on to find out how that's gone. Okay, so penultimate match on this podcast, penultimate prediction. I've got the Intercontinental title triple threat match between champion Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. And simply put, once this match is finished, Mania might as well be over. nothing is going to touch this match for me in terms of wrestling quality. 3 big lads, all of them can go, all of them at a million miles an hour when they need to, but also understand how to tell a story. Gunther's been pretty dominant since his move to the main roster, and was unlucky, in my opinion, not to get the match with Lesnar at the Showcase of the Immortals. Drew certainly has got the potential to get his big Mania moment in front of a crowd, which he is still owed, because I'm not counting that absolute horseshit with Bobby Lashley from last time around. And Sheamus is probably the sentimental pick, because the Intercontinental title is still the only one that is missing after a long and well-decorated WWE career. And it definitely doesn't show any signs of slowing down anytime soon. This is obviously my pick for match of the entire weekend, but who are you going to pick to take the Intercontinental title? I can tell you who Matt has picked. Matt has picked Drew McIntyre, which is a bit left field for me.
Interesting.
Do you want to go next, Paul?
Yeah, can do. I definitely have not taken Drew McIntyre in this one. I have gone for a Gunther retain, and I believe that will come about because obviously they've sown the seeds of a little bit of infighting between Sheamus and Drew in the sort of the SmackDowns leading up to this. Obviously they've had the Fatal 5-Way or whatever it was to get them to this point, and they had another match, and I think because they still couldn't get a winner, they just Adam Pearce made it the triple threat. I reckon this will be the beginning of a very, hopefully successful Drew McIntyre heel run, and I think he will cost Sheamus the match in as much as if I can't have it, you can't have it either sort of scenario.
Okay.
I also think that they need to build some heels up for something that will happen the next night that obviously we'll get into a little bit later on, and I think he's a perfect candidate as a heel to face, who we'll get onto later on once something else has happened.
Okay, I think we're laying some seeds for later on, but I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I have gone for the sentimental pick, so I have gone for Sheamus. He has had WrestleMania moments before. Obviously, the biggest one was probably the shortest match of his career in 18 seconds, taking the world title from Daniel Bryan. But nobody can argue that he doesn't deserve to pick up that one that he's missing. Part of me does wonder if it will be now, and I hope it is now, clearly, because I've picked him. But part of me wonders if it would mean more if he did take it off McIntyre.
So I think the only thing that goes against Sheamus having it now is that everyone keeps talking about, Gunther's had this incredible run with it. Wouldn't it be nice if he basically sort of like has it for longer than Honky Tonk Man had it? And I think that'll play in like Triple H's mind, and I think he'll probably want to get him to that point. Then have him lose it, then he can transition him into the world title picture. That's why I think they'll keep it on him.
This is Paul petitioning for an Austrian version of the honkometer to appear on screen every single week. With the
That's just what, like, that's just like playing songs from like The Sound of Music or something like that, yeah.
I think Paul's just dived straight into full stereotype mode there. But yeah, I could see that. If I'm honest, I genuinely don't care who wins this match, because it is gonna be so good. Like, any of them could carry it forward. I think it's probably one of the title matches across the weekend, other than the Theory match that we've already discussed, where it is most likely that a retain will happen. But yeah, I'm purely picking Sheamus for the feels. So that's my pick. So we've got one pick for each member of the matchup so far. So Andy gets the casting vote this time around.
So my pick's a bit of an amalgamation of everybody's. So I've agreed with Matthew Moore that Drew McIntyre will win this. I believe Drew McIntyre will win this by pinning Sheamus. And that will then lead on to a match further down the line between Drew and Sheamus, where Sheamus will beat Drew to take the title.
Okay. Do you know what? I didn't have McIntyre in the book for you this time because I know I thought he was on your shit list.
He was on my shit list, but I saw like a weird pattern emerge in the Matrix and was like, I can see that working.
To be honest, if that was the occurrence, so I can see that playing into their hands as well, because obviously then that gives Gunther the out of, well, I was never pinned.
Mm.
So technically, in my eyes, I'm still the champion, and that could move him on to the main title picture straight away.
And he also might be onto something there, because, you know, it's not like that Drew and Sheamus have effectively almost got a home pay-per-view at the beginning of July. You never know. Andy's maybe onto something there, like I say. Okay, so final one for this episode of Getting Over is the SmackDown Women's title match. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Everyone will know these ladies have faced off at WrestleMania before, which was WrestleMania 36. But things were a bit different back then. Flair was the NXT Women's Champion, with a fresh-faced Rhea Ripley as the challenger.
Other way around.
Is that right?
Rhea was the champion. Charlotte won the Rumble, didn't she? And she decided to challenge Rhea.
Of course, I have got that mixed up. Yeah, that's right. You are correct. Because it had been the NXT title rather than the main roster title. I might not have remembered that the right way around, but I do remember that this was the match that I enjoyed the most from that particular WrestleMania. It was a hell of a match. Even though there was no crowd. Not even Thunderdome screens back then, because it was just Performance Center.
No sound.
Yeah.
No sound at all, just the sound of the match.
No atmosphere, nothing. That was it. The stakes are a little higher this time. There'll be thousands of people there. Probably, if you ask WWE, a few more thousand than there actually are, as Paul alluded to earlier. But Ripley, this time, is coming in as the Rumble winner, rather than Charlotte. And she's now a former champion in her own right on the main roster. She's established, she's found her persona, she's honed her craft. Is the result going to be different this time? Personally for me, I have gone straight in with a yes, as has Matthew Moore. So we have both taken Rhea Ripley to be taking home the SmackDown Women's title. Paul, is that you in agreement?
Yes, please. This should be arguably... It probably won't be, but I would have absolutely no issues with this being the start of a Roman-esque, long Rhea title run. If she held it for the next 2 years, I would be more than okay with that. She just needs to just mow through everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Be the most dominant, monster, women's champion they've ever seen.
Yeah, I would not disagree with any of that. So we've jumped straight in. So us three have all got our picks down for Rhea Ripley, leaving Andy as the last pick again on this one. So, are you going against the grain, or are you joining? Oh, here he goes.
It's a clean sweep for the last match of the night. If it is, in fact, the last match of the night.
We started on a clean sweep for predictions, and we are ending this episode on a clean sweep of predictions. So, as I mentioned earlier on, we've split the card up as best as we can. It may not be the running order, it may be exactly the running order. Who knows at this point? Triple H, if you're listening, obviously, clearly you. But that's by the by. What we've decided to do between ourselves as well is that we are going to off-air submit a running order ourselves, which we are going to use as the tiebreak. So whoever gets the most matches in the right place over the weekend will get Paul's already there. It's on paper already. It's too small for me to cheat and copy it. But yeah, we are going to do that. So in case we need a tiebreaker, we're going to use the running order for that. The only other thing there is left to tell you on this episode is, of course, the Alexa Bliss pop giveaway is still going on. Still here. She's still here. Please somebody take her away, because the night is haunting. But yeah, if you haven't already, if you're not watching us on YouTube, head over to YouTube right now, click the subscribe button, give us a little subscribe on there, and your name will be added to the pot. Once we get to 100 subscribers, 2 of those Funko Pops will be given away. One specifically to the first 50 odd of you that were there before the competition started, and one is free reign for everybody. So please head over there and do that now. It will be very much appreciated, and you'll never miss another Getting Over again, or Darkest Timeline, or F1 podcast, Straight to the Apex, or football podcast. Who knows? You won't miss any of this good stuff. So that is it for this episode. Join us momentarily, if you will. Or, I don't know, go get a drink, do what you want in between, but just join us again for the second half of our WrestleMania predictions. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on this episode. We'll see you shortly.
Bye.
So there you go. What do you think of that? Part 1 done. Make sure to tune into part 2. There's still plenty more predictions to go. Thank you for listening to this one. If you made it all the way to here, you're doing well. Just one more bit to go. Before you switch over to part 2, please do like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave us a review. You can even check out the website. It's thecookiecast.com. There you can email us at the click of a button, or even follow some of our social media links. Right, that's it for this one. There is another one, so check out the other one. But until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Cookie Cast.